TransByDef, it's me again. So, 2 videos in one day. I'm about caught up. I really enjoyed the last video, doing that for you. When I did it, I wasn't like excited about doing it, but I'm comfortable with how it came out. So it kind of motivated me to get the one done for this week, since it's already Wednesday afternoon. This topic that was chosen is what steps did you take in your transition, and what can you do when your transition stalls? Firstly, before I even get into this, I am not a case study in how to go about a transition. I mean, everything worked out okay, but holy moly, did I do it all wrong. It had a happy ending, but it certainly wasn't due to anything that I did, because it was a mess. And I made myself some notes on this to go through on it, and I'll try to. There were so many things that happened in that process that it was probably better if I did make notes on it, just so I make sure I stay in sequence, because I have a habit of bouncing all over the place, depending on which way the wind's blowing. I guess the very first step in my transition was probably knowing who I was always there, but not accepting it, or not facing up to what was going on with me. So I guess the very first step for me was accepting who I was, and then trying to move forward from there, followed by trying to move forward and explore what was possible for me to live out my life successfully. And I did that in many ways. The internet's a very powerful tool, as we all know, and I explored the internet. I found some chat groups, numerous chat groups. I also, went to different websites because I was interested in hormones, and not just pharmaceutical hormones, but I was interested in hormonal replacement through, homeopathic remedies and herbals and all that kind of stuff. So I explored, I read a lot, I read medical journals, ridiculous amount of reading. I explored, I joined these groups, I made friends, and got socialized on the internet at this point. And kind of came to terms with who I was, because there was no reason to start a transition if I wasn't going to be able to do something with it. It wasn't going to have an end game of some sort. And, so finding like-minded people and new friends that I could share what was going through this whirling mass inside my head to make sense of all this was kind of important, and beginning steps of coming to a place of what was I going to do, what was I capable of, what was possible, whether it was hormonal, whether it was surgeries, what outcomes could be. All that stuff I started to explore. At the same time I was doing that, I started what we would commonly call the cross-dress period, where I was cross-dressing, hiding things away, hiding things in my gun safe, hiding things in the trunk of my car. Just ridiculous stuff. And then I would purge everything. I would get the guilt trip where I couldn't do this, and I would throw everything out, and a week later I'd be buying stuff back again. It was a mess, an absolute mess. And maybe I think that's why younger people today will have an easier time with it. But living, half my life, I guess at that point, as a male, was really added to the chaos of what was going on at that period of time. And then eventually I did experiment with the herbals and stuff, and did a lot more reading on hormones, and started searching that whole thing and asking other people what they were doing and experiences, and reading medical journals on what levels you should be taking. I didn't want to hurt myself, but it was everything that you shouldn't be doing, you know. I did it. I did it all wrong, up to the point where I pretty much stopped throwing clothes away and just hoarded that stuff up. I started pharmaceutical hormones because I just wasn't getting anywhere. And at that point in time, there was a girl named Mickey out in Seattle, Tacoma, that I was friends with. I got to be friends with on one site, and we kind of transitioned together at the same time. So it was fun to have a Thelma and Louise, if you will. And we kind of made a tontine that we would go step by step with each other, and through this journey, this wondrous journey. And so I played with the hormones to a point where I finally said, you know, I'm like 3 months in, I gotta stop. I said, this is insanity. I got kids, I got this. The guilt stuff was coming in, and my spouse knew that something wasn't right. So eventually, long story short, I outed myself to her, which she immediately pummeled me physically. I just kind of warded off the blows and kind of, you know, there was a calm. Kind of after a couple, 3 or 4 days, we talked and just kind of settled down. I got to a routine, and you know, she said she'd stay with me as long as I didn't do the hormones anymore. Well, 4 or 5, 6 weeks later, I was back on hormones again. Because once you know who you are, you can't shut it on and off. It's on and it stays on. You can deny it again, but once you're out, it's so much harder to put this all back in a, you know, into a box. It just doesn't happen. So I started that again, and eventually she caught on to the fact that, you know, sexually I was getting dysfunctional, and eventually she caught on to the fact that I was back on hormones, and I was sneaking everything. It was horrible. And she finally said, well, if you're going to do this, you better get a doctor who'll take care of you, because you have people that you're responsible for. And I agreed and sought help for my EAP program. I think I've said this in other videos, and got professional help, which led me into a therapist and a support group, and everything started, the craziness started to go away, and I started to get better, and I felt like, you know, hiding is terrible, and lying is even worse. So I kind of went forward, and things kind of calmed down, and moved on with doctors, and everything, you know, the rest is history. I did it by the books, and all the turmoil came out. Now, I did jumpstart a couple times. I know Donna Rose has, many of us have. If you didn't back up at least once and look at this, especially if you were an adult and not a younger person doing this, if you didn't go back and start at least once, then I'd be scratching my head trying to figure out, you know, how. I just didn't see it happening. So I jump-started 2 or 3 times, and each time it was horrible. But once the cat's out of the bag, there's no putting it back. Dealing with it maybe, but I just kind of embraced who I was, and went, you know, I went forward again, you know. And once I had a therapist, the jump starting and restarting and stalling process stopped. She basically made me be responsible for my actions. Up to that point, I was flip-floppy, wishy-washy, and non-committal. I wanted to commit, but not, you know. And once, you know, I was so afraid that she would blow me off and not help me, that I got real, I got honest, and we moved on, you know. So Now I'm, post-op for everything for 10 years, and life's good. I moved forward. I went on with life. Forgot about transition and the ugly stuff that goes with it. The heartache and the crying and the tears and the emotional roller coaster. Oh yeah, that roller coaster was terrible. But now that it's over and past and beyond, nature has a funny way of healing us after we've decided to go on with life and just live it as we're meant to be. So that's kind of my take on this topic. I rambled a little bit on it. If you're, I guess, work with somebody, I guess, is what I would suggest. Work with somebody that's got experience, not somebody that's going to tell you what you want to hear, but work with somebody that will tell you what you need to hear. And that's a big difference. And, I wish you all well. And I look forward to seeing what the others have to say. Questions, ponders, I look forward to your comments. So please feel free to post. And I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. Peace.